What is up, MMA community? I just want to let you guys know that this podcast may have some graphic language that may not be suitable for all audiences. The listener discretion is advised. Welcome. This is kind of a special edition episode, bonus episode of the BP and Mean Gene MMA show. But we are here after the Poirier-McGregor. Poirier knocks out McGregor. I already sensed Mean Gene. I'm just going to say it like it is. This is definitely going to be a debate. But I can sense the winds of false narratives and of revisionism coming from you. But we haven't even talked about this yet. So this is raw. We've been saving this discussion. We know it's Wednesday right now, but we've been saving this discussion for now as much as we wanted to talk on the phone. So with that being said, Mean Gene, I want you to kind of start out. What did you take from this weekend? Mainly this conversation is going to be about McGregor, but I think we should start a little bit lighter and talk about the lightweight division.
All right. Well, first off, I'll say I was surprised you gave me a call. Number one, I didn't expect you wanting to talk about any of this after Conor getting knocked out one. And number two is I was making sure you're okay.
It's funny you say that. I'm not like a Conor fan, but I'm just not a Conor hater. You know, like I know Mean Gene likes to. It's almost like you turn on your own. You were his guy. You were always hyping him up, and then as soon as that Aldo thing, which you've talked about before, then it was you're his biggest hater.
Critic. Yeah, it seems like I'm his biggest critic, and it's I hate to be labeled that, but I kind of got to agree with you to a degree.
Yeah.
I don't want to say hater, but yeah, of course, all those situations and the subsequent years after that just really soured me on him. And mainly nothing even outside of the cage. It has nothing to do with that. It's because I'm really not one of those guys when it comes to sports. Yeah, it's just inside the cage and just the hype that was kind of around him and things of that nature. So,
yeah.
But yeah, one thing I will say, I definitely don't think I'm a hater at all. I do like him, but hey, let me just say this: I do like him. Obviously, my admiration for him has waned in subsequent years. Like you said, since the Aldo thing. But
yeah,
it's the hype around him. That's what bothers me. I guess he's become maybe he's that band. That you knew growing up. You watch him in those small halls, and now he's this massive superstar.
Now they're too big.
Yeah, you're kind of a little jealous, but I'm not. but I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I'm not jealous.
No, yeah, I don't think you're jealous. I just think it comes down to principle, and I think once you dislike, you massively dislike. I think that's what it came down to. You went balls to the wall on it.
Yeah, and you just I love the sport of mixed martial arts, and there's just a lot of, and I like the way champions are crowned and a lot of things of that nature, and the way that we've said this in previous podcasts, so I've said this, so I'm kind of just being a dead horse, but just the way that he was kind of coddled to build him up to be this super. It's honestly. Let's jump into this. So I'll just
I was going
to say he's Ronda Rousey. Like he's turning into Ronda Rousey. So
he's not. But we'll jump right in. You can Yes. We'll talk about McGregor. But first, before we do that, we'll talk about the lightweight. So I'll jump in and say I think first of all, Poirier fucking phenomenal performance. He's way more durable. That was the question. Okay, he's not at featherweight. He's not going to be as easy to knock out. We saw that. He survived. He was able to survive that first round, which we were expecting. Conor's going to come out quick. Conor was piecing him up. Even at the beginning of the second round, Poirier had a good game plan of taking McGregor down. All of that stuff. I think that Poirier is a much more matured fighter. Like, to your credit, Mean Gene, you've been saying for a while. You've been saying, I don't know if he can beat Poirier. He's much more mature, which obviously going into this fight, a lot of people are saying that. But you've been saying this for about a year now. So credit to you on that. And then I think for Poirier to come in, he's got Gaethje. I mean, I don't see any other maybe you throw Chandler in there against him, and then Gaethje against Oliveira. Or I saw Oliveira called it out today, or maybe yesterday, that he's going to fight. He wants to fight Gaethje for the title, or Poirier for the title. I'm cool with that, and I did like his argument. He says he feels like he could bring Khabib back. Yeah, Khabib. That's been the biggest name coming out of Khabib's mouth has been Oliveira. So, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. In my perfect world, I think it's Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, Oliveira. Chandler Oliveira is the number one contender to whoever, and then obviously Gaethje and Poirier will be for the title. But what do you think about the lightweights, and kind of give your insight on the fight before we get into McGregor?
Okay. So the fight in particular, it kind of honestly it went the way I thought. I thought McGregor would come out guns a-blazing, pop on his punches, in and out movement, and Dustin Poirier was going to have to survive that first round. That's what I thought. And he did, and he survived it, and he got that takedown at some point in the first round, and then Conor did a very good job of getting up, walking or scooting back to the cage, and then getting up, and then it was kind of a grappling match there, which I liked on Dustin's his game plan with that was just kind of tiring McGregor out, kind of grinding it out, just grinding it out. He knows that McGregor has issues with his cardio, and just make it truly a 5-round fight. And then in the second, Poirier realized, man, these leg kicks are hurting him, and it's allowing me to get my hands off too. His counter right hook, or a check hook, I should say, is ridiculous. I mean, both of them, right and left, and he's got legit power. And man, what else is there to say? He chopped up McGregor's legs, which obviously then compromised his stand up because he wasn't able to have a firm base, and then fire off his shots. So, and then he ended up, hurting McGregor a little bit. And then the thing I love about Poirier in all of his fights for the most part, especially you saw that in the Dan Hooker, is when he goes, man, he goes. He's not. He doesn't let you breathe. He's like a Ferguson in that sense. He's not going to let you breathe. And with McGregor, man, he just put it on him and finished him. So, incredible performance by Poirier. I'll be honest, I went nuts, man. I was watching it live when we went out to Vegas to celebrate my birthday. Man, I went nuts. I went nuts. And there's a couple guys in the bar that had Poirier too, I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
And so they, we were kind of like high fiving all that shit. It was pretty rowdy. And man, that's why I love
high five. You better have had hand sanitizer,
right? And mask. I can tell you 100%. I did not have either.
Oh Jesus Christ! There you go. You're gonna get us canceled.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was just nice having the live crowd, there in the arena, and then having, being able to go to a bar and watch the fights and shit and kind of celebrate with some other MMA fans. So, but
absolutely,
in the sense of moving forward,
with the lightweights,
with the lightweights, I do think it's pretty much it's Poirier versus either, if you're gonna go with how it was before, or how it normally is when someone relinquishes a title, then it should be Gaethje versus Poirier. But unfortunately, they've already fought, and so that's the only thing that
but I like that rematch. I think that's still a big match that you can book.
Yeah, so I'm cool with that. It's pretty much 4 for me. For me, it's 4. It's you either do Poirier versus Gaethje, Poirier versus Oliveira, which I think Oliveira is deserving of it. To be real with you, Oliveira wants it. Dana White fucking slipped up. Now, in hindsight, it's funny. He never thought that he would even have to entertain Oliveira. But he slipped up and said his name on the fight card that was on ABC or whatever. And so, man, it should be Dustin Poirier versus Oliveira. Will they do that? I don't know, but it's Dustin Poirier versus Oliveira, Dustin Poirier versus Gaethje. That's it. Then whoever doesn't get that fight should fight Chandler.
Yes, absolutely.
And then that's it. And then as for Conor, they should drop Conor down. I think the perfect fight for Conor, honestly, is Nate Diaz 3. This is the time to do the trilogy.
This is the time to do it, 100%, especially with Nate Diaz coming down to lightweight.
Yes.
Yes. There's no reason not to do it.
Especially if it's at 155, it makes all the sense in the world. If you don't want to do that, if that ends up, for whatever reason you want to save that, keep it in your back pocket, then it's Ferguson. It's a perfect fight, man. Both of them, you see where they're at. Because, man, you got to look at it right now. And then, maybe this springboards us into McGregor. It's just this dude has won one fight in like 4 years, man. Yeah. And it's like, so do you want me to just kick this shit off? Because I'll just kick it off.
I was just going to say, to cap off that, I think you're pretty much spot on. I think Chandler was super impressive. So you do give him someone, but he did also beat Hooker, who came off of a war with Poirier and lost.
Yep.
It told me a lot, like, okay, this dude's legit, but it didn't tell me that he's legit. He's not the top 5 per se. We don't know yet with lightweights if he's going to beat like the Poiriers or the Gaethjes of the world or the Oliveras of the world with that knockout. Just because Hooker came off of a war, his chin is naturally going to be a little bit less than what it was and stuff like that. But we don't need to wait on anymore. Yeah, ultimately, the other thing I'll say with that Nate Diaz, that's why I wanted to wrap up, was I think Nate Diaz coming down to lightweight is perfect. And there's no better time than right now with McGregor. He's coming in, like you said, 1 win in the past 4 years. Mm-hmm. That Nate Diaz trilogy, like we've always said, is always on the table. You can easily headline and sell a giant pay-per-view number and set a giant pay-per-view number with that. But I'll just start off our conversation with McGregor in 1 year. I think sometime in 2022.
Goodness.
Listen, I'll just say with a bold prediction. Sometime in 2022, we will see the trilogy between McGregor and Poirier.
Okay, that's fine. I thought you were about to say that by 2022,
he's going to win the title.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll say in 2022 is when he'll fight for the title next, I think. Unless at the end of 2021, it'll depend on how active he is. With Nate Diaz, with that being probably his next fight, I don't think that gets booked before the summer. I think then he's probably only fighting 1 and then 2, because even if he beats Nate Diaz, he's not jumping back to a title shot. He's got to fight a Chandler maybe then, or he'll fight someone at that top of the division. He's not going to be going.
Yeah, well, just to wrap up that last little mini segment is, obviously UFC with Conor McGregor, you can have him headline a card where there isn't a title, and there's a bunch of cards coming up, especially the one on March 6th where they got 3 title fights on it. And I'm not saying, obviously they plan the year, so they know that they're going to have enough champions to fight on future pay-per-view cards. But at least with Conor McGregor, you don't need a title fight. And, man, Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor satisfies both things. It satisfies, having that headliner without a title and then also make a shit ton of money. I mean, that's going to do crazy pay-per-view numbers. Whereas, like, don't get me wrong, Conor McGregor Ferguson's still going to do big numbers because it's Conor McGregor, but not as much as Diaz. And this is the perfect time. Like, we've been how long have we been talking about this? Saying in 8-9 months or whatever it's been, that with Conor McGregor, when do you do this trilogy? Like after losing to Khabib and all this shit, who realistically, like, where is he at in the division? Maybe he should just go back and fight Nate Diaz. Well, then Nate Diaz ends up fighting, Masvidal and all this other shit. Is Conor gonna fight Masvidal now? No, he ends up fighting Cerrone. So it's and they didn't make that work. It's not on Conor's behalf. It's on the UFC's behalf not to make that fight. So what I'm saying is, now this is the perfect time. You have a fighter that is making you a ton of money. He's coming off of a loss. This is a winnable fight for him, easily a winnable fight for him against Nate.
For sure, especially with Nate Diaz, who hasn't cut down to lightweight in fucking years.
Yes.
When's the last time? It was fucking 2015, I think, was the last time he fought it.
I don't know.
Lightweight?
It's been a long. It's 2014. It's been years.
Yeah.
And then you get rid of that trilogy too. Obviously the fans want it. And it's just the perfect time for both. Nate's been out forever. You're not going to throw him into a fucking title a title fight or anything like that. This is
perfect. It's a beautiful. Yeah, and I agree. And go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and if just real quick, if Nate wins, it puts him in that title picture, you know. And if McGregor wins, you know, he's always in the title picture just because of his name, whether I agree with it or not. But it's just the perfect matchup. That's the easiest way without drowning on about it.
And we talked about this a little bit personally. Like, I don't know if it was on the phone. I think we were texting, but we talked about, man, maybe they'll do 2 cards in July. With Jones fighting the winner of Ngannou and Stipe, and then we're thinking, all right, the lightweight title. Man, now this is another opportunity they have with the lightweight title not being in the hands or even being competed in by Khabib or McGregor. It can be a co-main event.
Yes.
So that could be under the Jones, and then I can totally see what I would expect is a Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor, or even Tony Ferguson versus McGregor, whatever fight is booked. That will be a second card in July. I can totally see Dana White's already talking about making Abu Dhabi kind of the second or first fight capital. So I can totally see them doing a fight week, an international fight week in Abu Dhabi at the Etihad. I think that's how you say it, Etihad Arena. And then doing one in Vegas, maybe assuming everything's open at that point.
I could see that. And I agree with you when it comes to Poirier. Can he headline a card? Yes.
He could, but it just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not going to do crazy numbers. And it depends on the opponent, you know. If it's a Gaethje Poirier, I think it'd do pretty good numbers. If it's Gaethje versus
it would do good, yeah.
If it's Gaethje Oliveira, it's not, you know, it's going to do solid. And, you know, that fight, that's the rightful, you know, title fight, I think most people would agree with. If you do that, that's a co-main event for sure. That's not going to headline, you know, Oliveira and Poirier, unless you're going to put another title under it. You know, if that's the main event, you're going to put like a flyweight or something under it, then, you know, or a lower weight, I should say, under it. Then that makes sense. Yeah. But anyways.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. So Mean Gene.
Yes.
Here you go. You can tell your take. I'm all ears. Obviously, I'm ready to debate. I know I can assume essentially what you're going to argue. I'm sure you'll throw a curveball here and there, but go ahead. I want to hear what your take is with this whole McGregor situation.
Yes. So thank you for giving me the floor. I didn't even think I would have this floor.
Absolutely.
Or I'd have any conversation with you because, you know, I worried for your well-being.
You're doing it again. Yeah.
Anyways, yes.
I do got that McGregor bobblehead here, so maybe I am.
Hey, I have the McGregor fucking face plate or whatever you want to call it.
You have Krampus, the Krampus.
Yes.
The anti-McGregor, or you just get a Khabib bobblehead. I have a Khabib one too, so there you go.
Hey, I do have some Conor gear. I do have that Conor. Remember that Conor fucking face on a stick? Remember? That got in Vegas. Yeah, I still got that thing. So
you got that, and you got his look now. Do you have the bald with the beard?
Yes.
So see, that's what it is. It's like you're trying to hate on the guy so no one recognizes what you're doing undercover.
Yes, I'm hating them, but I'm imitating them, though. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
all right, go ahead.
So I'll jump into it. So I believed everything before the fight that he was busting his ass and working out hard and training hard and all that shit. I truly 100% feel like, and his coach said it. Kavanaugh said it after the fact. Like, Poirier beat the best Conor McGregor, and I truly believe that. He busted his ass and worked hard, and he was. I feel like he was trying to almost redeem himself for, you know, the Khabib, that loss with the Khabib. He wasn't. I do believe that too on the Conor side, even though it's an excuse. But, you know, I do believe that he didn't train as hard as he should have for that Khabib fight. And then he came back and he had that you know, whatever it was, 30-second win over Donald Cerrone, and it was a nice win. But I think he knows that Cerrone's not one of the top lightweights, and people spoke about that too. And I think that.
And he said that too.
Yeah, I think
he said I didn't expect to get a title fight off of that.
Yeah, so he wanted to come out here, and he knew that Dustin was a legit tough test for him, and so he fucking worked hard to beat Dustin, and but I just think at the end of the day, man, I think the sport to a degree has passed him by. I feel like he had his rise. He had his mini reign. I wouldn't even consider it really even a reign, but I'll give him the credit. You know, I will say that he has a mini reign. And at this point, man, it's hard. Like Ariel says, and you know, Ariel Helwani always says, he quotes that boxer. I forget who said it. But man, he's, you know, is the drive really there? I'll just paraphrase. Is the drive really there when you're sleeping on satin sheets?
Oh yeah,
and I don't I don't think
it's hard to wake up when you're sleeping in silk sheets.
Yes, exactly, and silk sheets. That's what it was. Get the fucking quote right, Gene. But yeah,
we're gonna have fucking Trent come over here and fact check it.
but yeah, no, I do think that it's hard for him to like truly get up for these fights and to truly have that burning desire to be the fighter he was, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, and the game just kind of passed him by. Especially you saw with the leg kicks. You know, he says I wasn't ready for it, whatever. Listen, man, you got to be ready for everything.
Yeah, the calf kicks.
Yeah, the calf kicks. You have to be you have to be ready for it. I mean, it doesn't matter what you were worth. At the end of the day, you're going into the deadliest division in all of combat sports. I don't even care what anyone says. The lightweight division and MMA across all organizations is by far the toughest division. It has all the killers in it, and then you go up against Dustin Poirier, who's light years better than the Dustin Poirier you fought, you know, back in 2016 or 2014.
It was like 2014, I think, yeah.
And
it was 2014. Okay.
So I don't know. There's so many levels to the shit. I just think that I think the game's kind of passed him by. I've been saying this shit. For me, this fight was vindication. That's why so much. All the emotions poured out of me. Nah, I wasn't fucking crying, but I'm saying in the sense of, but in the sense,
babe, I love you.
In the sense of, you know, snapping. Like when he knocked him out, when those first 2 shots, I could tell it was the beginning and the end. And man, I was out of my seat, jumping up and down. When he finished him, I was fucking screaming at the top of my lungs because it was just vindication, man. It's vindication from all the media saying, like, this dude can beat Khabib, you know, the Ariel Helwani saying, oh, you know, his foot was compromised, just give him another, you know, training camp, and I feel like it's going to be a closer fight. Or our conversations, you know, back and forth telling you, like, he's not going to get through the Justin Gaethjes, the Dustin Poiriers, the Tony Fergusons of the lightweight division. Like, this guy is pretty much, he is a Nate Diaz, Mayweather, those type of fights, a Donald Cerrone, those type of fights are the only fights he's going to win, and the only fights that's going to keep his name in the headlines out. Because you could say what you want to say. He's going to still draw the numbers, but let him lose another 2 times to the elite light heavyweight or lightweights.
Oh, then he's
just gonna end up fighting like these novelty fights, and
you know, the Jake Pauls and
or whatever, even in novelty fights in the lightweight division. You know, he's, you know, the Fergusons in that sense, the guys that were once at the top and they've just fallen off.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get back to a title. And I really feel like after this fight, that's where he's at. I don't care. Can he, like, on like a knockout punch or whatever, can he beat Dustin Poirier or Gaethje? Yeah, maybe, but his
it's funny that you say that.
His stock has dropped so far in my eyes to the point of he is Ferguson. He's Tony Ferguson. That's what he is right now.
Oh man. Okay.
And so the floor is yours. And I have a lot more. I'm sure we'll debate let me just say there's other levels to this of the Conor McGregor hype train. But I'll just start on just simply as an MMA fighter, simply skill-wise.
That's the problem, is that but you're not looking skill-wise.
I am. Skill-wise, 100%. I think he's down to the Ferguson.
It's interesting that you say that. I mean, to look.
Let me just cap this off real quick. The last thing I'll just say. Let me just cap it.
Because you've already gone too far.
I know.
Let
me just cap it off. Because like you said to me before I started my little rant, I already know what you're going to say. And my rebuttal to it is Dustin Poirier took every single one of those fucking shots and stood there. So what else does he have? What else is he going to bring in the next fight? Dustin Poirier stood there and took his left hand multiple times, and he even said a couple times it stung me, And I felt like, man, if he would have fouled up a couple times, maybe he would have got me out of there.
So then you're giving me even more ammunition. So I'm going to jump in right here. So like this is exactly. So I think you're spot on when you say, like you can't just fucking fight once every 2 years or whatever it is. Like you have to be in the game. And this was his first fight back. What I truly think is going to be in the game. So when it comes to skill, when it comes to him being in shape, that he looked the best he's ever looked at lightweight in terms of like his weight cut and everything, like appearance wise. He looks phenomenal. Let me tell you this: if that was Eddie Alvarez on the other side, it looks just like that fight.
What?
In terms of Eddie, in terms of Eddie Alvarez
clarify what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying.
So what I'm saying is that McGregor was the same or better than the McGregor who fought Eddie Alvarez back in 2016.
I agree with you.
Yes. So my point being, obviously the opponent, Dustin Poirier, is better. The sport is better at this point. But I think what it comes down to, like you had said, man, he's Tony Ferguson level. No. Number one, unarguably, he was piecing up Poirier. It wasn't just like he's he landed a nice shot, Poirier landed a nice shot. Like, no, he's piecing him up. But again, like you said, Poirier obviously is taking those shots, and this is where that you need to be fighting. You have to be fighting constantly because, like you said, he doesn't go in and finish him. Poirier said he was stung. That's the rustiness. That's the whatever you want to call it. The cage. What was it? Cage rust or ring rust? Ring rust. Yeah. But when it comes to like when you say he's on Ferguson's level, no, because if you watch that fight, who looks like the better striker? McGregor. Who was more durable and won by toughness? Yeah, obviously fucking Poirier did. So my point is like to sit there and say like his skill levels below. No, I mean he got up from the takedown, which was just a game plan takedown. I don't think Poirier's intention was to keep him on the ground the whole time. And then he was strong, as you saw. He flipped the clinch right against the cage. And then fucking he was piecing up Poirier. He looked better, crisper striking. With the turning point in the fight was that one calf kick that landed, and you saw McGregor fucking. It looked like it wasn't as bad or as visually bad as the Cejudo, but that's what it reminds me of. Is that when Cejudo got kicked in the Demetrius Johnson fight in the calf, and it numbs your leg. You can't feel it. And then the number one fatal flaw. What did McGregor do that lost him that fight? He didn't fucking block. He got too cocky, which is a fatal flaw in general. And he ducks under, almost lands that left hand right when he ducks under Poirier's shot when Poirier was kind of like the beginning of the end there. And then he couldn't circle out because his lead leg. So he can't circle out to his right, or maybe it was his left, whoever it was, can't circle out, and then he ends up fucking circling the opposite way into Poirier's power, and ultimately gets knocked out and then he continues not blocking. That's what it was. That in my eyes, like when you watch this fight, what my point of this is that when I'm watching this fight, I'm not thinking to myself, man, McGregor just looks like a shell of himself. Like, that's what I'm saying when you compare him to Ferguson. Man, that's like Ferguson and Tyron Woodley. They're on the same tier of, man, they were once great and they look like a shell of himself. He doesn't look like a shell of himself. This dude just, man, he was rusty for sure. You can say whatever you want. I think, like, ultimately, he should have been fighting more often. And that showed. I think I think he's always one who says "bring rust isn't real" or whatever. I think it was clear inexperience, but it's not experience because obviously he's had the experience. But it was just not being in the flow of things. And they were fatal mistakes. When you get to that level of such a packed division, those are fatal mistakes. He gets away with that with most other people. So when you talk about Gaethje, like, man, I don't know if Gaethje and Poirier is going to be a great fight.
If they fight.
If they have that fight next. Yeah, if they have that fight next. I would love to see it, and I think that is deserving. That's usually what they do. I mean, that's a huge fight to happen. So, like, to say, I think McGregor in general, he would be way better. He would do better against Gaethje. Because here's the thing, too. Conor, like, if he needs to, as we saw with Max Holloway, if he needs to, and they've talked about a lot with his ground transition. I don't know if you, so this, one of the big things that resonated with me was Daniel Cormier talking about when Khabib fought McGregor, he had to, Khabib makes everyone look terrible, but he went to the second, third, or fourth level of wrestling. In terms of taking him down and stuff, McGregor is does have good takedown defense, and if needed, he will he'll get in guard and hit somebody. My point being is that, but he's not going to do that against Poirier, because if he tries any sort of takedown on Poirier, Poirier will grab the guillotine quicker than Conor can move his left hand.
Okay,
I mean, like that. That's
but he's not. Conor's not taking anyone down. Yeah.
No, Conor's not taking anyone down. My point is that, like, he won't get in close with someone like Poirier because he's threatened by the takedown, and if need be, he's not going to catch his leg and take him down. The only thing he's going to do with catching his leg is going to be throwing a punch or a kick. That's my point. If he catches Gaethje's leg, which Gaethje we're going to see, that's going to be a tough one if he couldn't handle the Poirier calf kick. Could he handle Gaethje's? No way. But if he catches that leg, he'll fucking kick his leg out, do a trip, whatever, throw a few punches in guard and get up. He's not worried about anything with Gaethje on the ground.
Agreed.
And he's not worried about Gaethje taking him down. That's my point. So, and also the other big factor is Gaethje being, if there's a crowd, Gaethje will get into it, and McGregor will just piece him up if he tries to do something incorrectly. So
I mean,
let me just finish, because that I just went on a little bit of a detour there. My point is to say, like, man, he's on that level of, like, Tony Ferguson, or, like, man, he's not. Like, that is a good McGregor. If he comes back, like I said, in a year from now, if they have a trilogy, that's a good fight. I almost think you took that opportunity, like, bam, that was vindication. Yeah, but it wasn't really. If Poirier would have walked across the ring and beat the shit out of McGregor, or if Poirier would have done what Gaethje did to Ferguson, then yeah, the McGregor's done. I agree with you. But that wasn't the vindication. So when you say vindication, I'm like, man, that's not exactly what.
So let me
saying.
interject real quick, and I you already know me, man. When I'm not a hot take person where I'm just gonna keep going on even though when I know I'm wrong. I agree with you on that statement. I do agree. Like, I do think I went a little bit too far by saying, because I agree, especially when you break it down and say, like, Woodley's a shell of himself, Ferguson's a shell of himself. Yes, I agree. And I do not think that Conor's a shell of himself. Comparing him to Ferguson, I think, is a little too far. I guess. Yeah, I agree with that. And he did look good. Like, the first, I don't know about, like, yeah, I guess you could say piecing him up to a degree. I don't want to say piecing him up, because piecing him up to me is like what Max Holloway did to Kelvin Cater. Like, but I know what you're getting at. I know what you're saying. Like, he was hitting him. He looked good in that first. Like, I was worried watching it. I was like, man, and part of the worry in the sense of, it's not like I just watch this objectively. I have money on Dustin Poirier. So, so that's the reason why, another reason why I was so super happy, because he was a big underdog. I just felt like it was blasphemy to me to be that big of an underdog. He got to plus 270. Plus 270 at the MGM Grand. Which is where I bet. Great vacation, by the way. Have to interject that. Amazing vacation. Nice little 3-day trip, 2-night trip. It was fucking amazing. Anyways, nice. But he was. Yeah, I was definitely worried at the beginning. I was like, man, he is fucking landing pretty cleanly on Poirier. But I was just happy that Poirier was taking those shots. And I always knew, and that if it just went if it went deep, 3-4 rounds, that type of thing, I feel like McGregor would have been in trouble. But yeah, I guess I just felt vindicated in the sense of, Poirier to me is one of the best lightweights in the world. I think Justin Gaethje is. Yeah. Chandler potentially could be. I think Oliveira is. Obviously Khabib's GOAT status and that, but there's other guys like Dos
Yeah.
I think Dos Anjos. Like, this is what's crazy. I guess to make this simple, I just feel like Conor McGregor. And I agree with you. There was some little ring rust. He didn't fight for a year or whatever. Plus, the guy he fucking fought, honestly, listen, I respect Donald Cerrone. We both do, but it's a joke. It was a tune-up fight, man. It's one of those fights where it's like it's a name, but the guy's past his prime. You know what I mean? Like right now, Ferguson versus Khabib. Come on, Khabib's gonna run fucking through him. It's a name on his resume, but it's like, where was he at the time in his career? So.
Absolutely.
But I really do feel this way. I feel like Conor McGregor, he's always been this way, but now it's getting exposed more. He's not that good on the ground. Like, he's good at takedown defense, but when like if a Charles Oliveira gets on him, dude, he's done. Like he's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
but his striking is
I agree.
Fucking elite.
So his striking is elite. His movement is elite. His grappling is pretty solid. I think that's the most honest assessment. Is it's solid.
It's decent. It's decent enough. Yeah, it's like Adesanya's grappling. Like we haven't seen much, but it's enough to avoid.
I don't want. I get what you're saying.
Adesanya does have
incredible, incredible takedown defense. Like he's on a different level than Conor, but Conor is just good. Yeah, Conor. I definitely give him credit. I give him credit with the Khabib. He just looked like and the Nate Diaz at first, who exposed it, was like, he just looks lost, like a fish out of water on the ground. Then the Khabib, he drilled it for.
Yeah, he was.
And he drilled it with leading in the Khabib, obviously, because the Khabib style, and it looked good. So he's got that as kind of a base now for him, so that's good moving forward. But to me, he's an elite striker, and when he gets up against other guys that are fucking just as tough as him, have arguably more heart than he does at this point in his career, because now he's got the money. He has 3 kids. You know, he doesn't need this anymore. And you can say what you want to say about it. Even with him with the back, I thought DC pointed out perfectly when he's like, some fighters need that heat. They need that, the ace, the antagonist. And the Khabib went too far, but then Nate Diaz was like a happy medium. But yeah, the Cerrone is super chummy with him, which I think ended up working in his benefit. And then he was I think he thought, oh, that worked with him, I'm going to do it with Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is just a different beast.
No, I think he's not in that. Yeah, I liked what Poirier and him said after the fight. They're way more mature now. Like I don't think we're going to see that with McGregor at all. Anyway, I think he's kind of ditched that character of the smack talk to that degree. Like, he'll talk shit to joke around, but he's not that McGregor. He's not the who the fuck is that guy. Like, that was like McGregor party state, all of that. Like that. Okay. He's not that same guy.
I agree. Yeah, I can see that. I kind of agree with that. I do see.
But if he fought Khabib, he would. I agree with that. If he fought Khabib,
he would. I don't think he would get to that level of.
Not to the shit like where that man was doing levels of research.
Yeah,
going into.
But he'll still get to that level because he's going to have to. If he's a UFC fighter and he's a 155er, he's gonna have to. Because why? Because Gaethje's gonna fucking go all out on dude, just like he did. Gaethje already went all out on him, talking shit.
Yeah, he might with Gaethje.
You think Ferguson, Mr. Crazy fucking Ferguson? Like, Ferguson's going to go in on him. Like,
that's very true.
Charles Oliveira is going to be all respect, so you don't have to worry about that. But, man, I'm just, Paul Felder, all respect. Dos Anjos, all respect. There are fighters that he doesn't have to worry about. But, yeah, if he's going to get to the top where I think, Gaethje's going to remain and where, Ferguson's, I think he's just kind of, he's going to be more of a gatekeeper to a degree. I still think Ferguson's got something in the tank, Yeah, we'll just see where it goes. I still think there's something there. He could get the title, like, legitimately. I think he could. But listen, it's like a 5% chance, 10% chance. He
has. I'll tell you this. He has less of a chance.
Okay, but what I'm saying is,
McGregor does.
let me so you understand where I'm coming from. Tyron Woodley has no chance of ever getting a title. Ferguson's not at. We both said that these guys are shells of themselves. I don't think Ferguson's at the Tyron Woodley level, where it's like there's absolutely like, Tony. Okay, I mean, and if you disagree with me, I wouldn't be mad at you either. I wouldn't be mad because
I think it's just Tyron Woodley is one fight deeper, but it's almost the equivalent of like had Tony Ferguson fought Khabib, what we expect would have happened, and then he had fought Gaethje. So it's almost like, because that's what happened with Woodley. He fought Kamaru Usman, and then he fought Burns, and then he fought Colby, and that's exact kind of the order that Ferguson fell without the Khabib fight.
And the other aspect of that, the other aspect of that, you too. The other aspect of that is that. Woodley went against the elite, obviously, but he looked like a shell of himself. Like he wasn't the same.
That's true.
He looked terrible. Whereas like Ferguson, 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 the Gaethje he got his ass whooped. I mean, let's be honest. He
That's very true, because he did still land that uppercut. Like, he was just an inferior striker to Gaethje. But he didn't have the pride to admit it. He was just, he's going to stand on the feet and still.
Yep, and then Oliveira is just whatever. Maybe Oliveira, so it is what it is. But I think there's still something there. All I'm saying, and if you disagree and say he has nothing, that's fine, because I understand why someone would say that. But I think he's got 5-10%.
Yeah.
Still a chance of potentially, of potentially getting a tie. I don't think he's not done. Like, you get what I mean? Like, Paul, I can say Paul Felder will never touch it. Will never touch gold. Like that. That's what. Like, I can't say that about Ferguson. Is what I'm saying. But anyways, what I'm just getting at with the Conor, I got off track or whatever. It's just with Conor. He's not a shell of himself. You are correct. So I do retract that statement. I just think against the killers in that division, we know who he is. Conor McGregor, to me, is not going to. Well, and let me tell you why. He's not going to evolve. He's not going to get better. In my personal opinion, he is who he.
Okay.
He is who he is as a fighter. So his movement, his striking power, all that type of stuff. That's obviously the pros. The cons, though, for him is his gas tank, number one. It's been proven numerous times that if the fight.
Yeah, I don't think his gas tank was an issue at all.
Why would it be?
And he had fixed that. That's my point. I know that, and again, that could, who knows, because we haven't seen it.
Exactly.
But he looked fine in the Nate Diaz fight.
No way. What do you mean?
And then
no way. You're
absolutely. His gas tank looked fine. Go back and watch that fight. His gas tank was good.
I refuse to watch that fight because I don't even need. It's a waste of 25 minutes to prove my point. I literally know 1,000% that I'm 100%. 1,000.
He slowed down in the third, and then he picks it back up.
He was huffing and puffing, dude.
Yeah.
He barely. They both were dying at the end of that fight, dude. That was a war. That fight did not. Okay, that fight showed that he could go 5 rounds, but in the sense of like, he was good. Like, he was like Max Holloway. No, I know.
No, he's never going to be on that. That's a different
what I'm
level.
Saying, I'm just trying to say, like, his gas tank is still. If you're listing his the good things, or not the good things, but the pros, or whatever you want to say, the advantages he has and the disadvantages he has in the fight. His advantages, obviously, dude.
Let me say this.
But just let me make my point. Let me make my point. You keep cutting me off.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, the pros are the movement and the striking and the left hand, all that type of shit, and obviously, his toughness. And then on the other end, it's just I think his gas tank is some type of liability. And then obviously his takedown, just anything on the ground, is definitely a liability to him. And then the third thing, and this is crazy to say, but I'm starting to get there with the dude. His heart, to a degree, like he's tough. He's tough.
I agree
but I wonder
with
about his heart. Like, man, when he starts taking shots, same thing with the Diaz. Like the Diaz, he just dropped out and then got choked out. Like what I'm saying is like he kind of and the Khabib
he
thing when
gives
Khabib
up.
got him and took his, he kind of gives up a little bit, man. So those are like
Yeah.
yeah
I know. I
yeah.
agree
So
with that for sure.
um
And I think that absolutely has to do with the fame and stuff like that, because that's a different McGregor. Like on the featherweight, when I think it was a Max Holloway fight when he fucking tore his ACL in the second round, and he continues fighting and still beats Max Holloway. And then he would take shit, like even the Chad Mendez, like fucking he's gassed from the takedown, all that, and he would never back down from the fight, all of that stuff. I do think that's kind of, as he's been a star, he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't need it. Like it does change. Fighting is that one sport. Like yeah, it happens in other sports, but never to the degree that it happens in fighting. Where like when shit truly hits the fan, he knows that there's a way out, and he can exercise that option, and he's not him and his family are not going to be at risk. And I agree. Yeah, I think where some fight, like when you're seeing these guys on the prelims, they're thinking to themselves, if I fucking lose, I'm losing $50,000. And ultimately they're not gonna get knocked out or whatever it is. Like I do agree with you. I think his heart is, and it's just natural. It's nothing even against him. Like I just don't think that it could possibly be, unless you're Tony Ferguson. He ultimately, like you said, when shit hit the fan, he got rocked against Nate Diaz. Like I almost feel like those thoughts came across his head where he's thinking to himself, like, if I lose this, that's fine. Like it's 170. You know what I'm saying? Like he almost is like weighing the options. The same thing with Khabib. Like, oh man, he's got me in a position. I'll try to get a rematch. You know what I'm saying? Like he almost has that equation go through his head. And this one, I don't know if that necessarily happened, but I agree with you in the sense that like it comes with pride. Like it comes with this like he'll accept it quicker than he would have in the past.
I don't think he really did in this fight. I'll just say like, when he took that, and it was a big ass shot.
But no, when you're talking about pros and cons, yeah, when you're talking about pros and cons, yeah, I know that you're not talking about this fight, but when you're talking about cons in general of McGregor, and then the last thing, just to cap off the gas tank, the only issue I have is like, so like, this is what I'll say about it is that Conor McGregor at 155 like that, I think that gas tank would be 5 rounds. I do think that would have lasted. Now who knows? I have no clue. I could, whatever. I could have egg on my face if he has a 5 round war with Nate Diaz, let's say. But yeah, I don't see that McGregor. His weight cut was amazing. He was fully in. According to all of his trainers and him, of course you take that with a grain of salt, but he looked good. So I don't know. I think, and he's been working with the new nutritionist for a while since the Nate Diaz fight. So
well, only time will tell, obviously, and that's what I'm hoping for. Ultimately, if you're asking me, what I'm hoping for that comes from this fight is that, man, he takes it serious. Like now, this dude wants to. Now he's actually trying to be a UFC fighter. Now he's trying to. He's actually trying to get in the gym, work, and have.
You're cutting out. Can you hear me?
Can you still hear me? Yeah, my bad. I cut out there. Yeah, I cut out.
Can you hear me?
What I was gonna say is it's a gift and a curse is fame because
no problem.
the UFC now they obviously want to capitalize on his stardom, and the issue with him is, man, are you really gonna give it? He wants to fight 4 times a year or whatever. I mean, is the UFC really trying to do that? It doesn't seem, and that's what happened last year with him. If you believe the reports and shit, is that he wanted to fight. Yeah, and that's the other thing. This is what's going to be an interesting thing that comes out of this is like he wants it, and he didn't get it last year, and then now he starts this year off, and he's saying the same thing. I want it, and the UFC will see if they're going to oblige him. But if I'm the UFC, I would oblige him. Not only are you going to make a shit ton of money, he's already kind of. I'm not saying like I said, every loss he's losing is mystique, and I feel like this loss again was just like, okay, he is beatable again.
Yeah.
And we already knew this, that he was beatable, but now he's fighting a striker, a guy just like him, and he lost. And so the UFC needs to just say, hey, man, it is. They need to recognize that it is ring rust to a degree, and that maybe getting him multiple fights a year and getting him focused where he is training and not dicking around, that maybe he will win some of these big fights and maybe he will become your champion. Because right now in his current state, man, he's not going to become champion. Like, he needs more fights. They got to get him more fights and more meaningful fights. And that's, again, I don't want to be that horse. That's what that Nate Diaz fight does, because it fulfills two pots or whatever. He's able to still stay in the title picture because it's at 155 and it's a winnable fight, and it's a fight that the fans want to see and they're going to make money off of. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you on pretty much all counts. I think the only thing I would add is what worries me is, and this is kind of what we talked about whenever it was a few months ago when we were talking about McGregor, is his fame has almost surpassed his opportunity, in the sense that, like, how the UFC works, what he needs, and what his popularity brings are kind of in three different areas. So, like, he has to headline a card. That hurts him when he's not in the title picture because of his popularity. Or, for example, he can't fight. They're not going to put him on the May card. That cuts a whole fight out of the year for him. If they're going to put him in, like, the perfect plan for him, if he's going to fight 4 times, would be he fought in January, and then he would fight in April or May, probably May, and then he would fight in July, and then he would fight in November, December.
Yep.
But they're not, like, again, they're not going to. The next time we'll see McGregor, almost guarantee it, will be in July.
Yeah, in the summer. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because there's just not going to put. You saw kind of what the DMs with Dana. He said, "Man, May is what he had said. Something about May, or I believe, like, they usually don't put on a big card in May." So, and that probably has to do with just what people are doing and viewership around the world, whatever it is. They know they get low pay-per-view turnout, and they're not going to throw McGregor on that.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they do, and hopefully they do. I would love to see maybe a May, if they can get Nate Diaz or even Tony Ferguson. Get both of those fights in. Fuck it. He's been saying, like, McGregor literally said, I want to fight anyone on the roster, whatever it is. Like, I just want to fight, type of thing. So, man, throw Tony Ferguson in there in May. If he beats Ferguson, or even if he loses to Ferguson, it doesn't matter. Then he fights Nate Diaz in July. And then you can throw him against, and that would be good for him. Just having those two, like, stand-up wars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I think it would be really good in general.
Yeah, I hope they do, man, because, I do think, he is a top 10 fighter in the division. There's the part of me that, I'd like to see if he can duplicate what he did before. I don't think he will. I mean, that's a lot of it, to be honest with you. A lot of it is just me being able to win money off of him, betting against him, because he's going to be the favorite. He's going to, again, they already put the odds out for a trilogy fight, and he's the favorite again.
Against Poirier, really?
Yeah, he's a favorite.
I mean, I can see that to start out the favorite. That's not even the what's it called, the popular vote. What is it when that's not the common fans putting in money if he's starting out that way?
Well, no. So he opened as a favorite. I don't know what listen, this fight is all hypothetical, so there's not going to be a lot of movement or money coming in. But no, the odds makers made the odds based on the fact, they feel like they know where the public's going to go. He's a public fighter. You saw where he got bet. He was at like 200 or something.
Yeah, but then they would have opened him at a minus.
No, he is. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Conor McGregor, because they know the books are just trying to make money. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose money.
I know that.
So they know everyone's going to bet on Conor. So they're not going to put him as the underdog. and have all that liability, all that risk with all the plus money. So they put him as a favorite to combat that, and then we'll see.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
And then we'll see how it goes in the sense of how he gets bet throughout the week and all that type of shit. But I mean, he's gonna remain the favorite. It's fact. He's too big of a star. There's too many people, and he's still got the skills, like you said.
And he looks good. Yeah, he still looks good.
Yeah, he didn't look terrible. This wasn't like he didn't look terrible. I would never say that. I don't want to come off like I'm saying, my goodness, this was just, he looked like a shell, and I did start that off by saying he was a shell of himself, and I retract that statement. But he's still a viable lightweight, and he's a viable title contender. I personally don't think he will get the title, but I do think that he's still in the mix 100%, and he's got the skills and everything to become champion. I just don't think he will, but and yeah, man, I mean, to kind of
we can wrap. I was just about to jump in and be like, so I think, unless you have anything else you want to add, go ahead and finish.
Just the last thing I wanted to add in on this is just the talk outside of this podcast and just other media members, and just like mainly the Ariel Helwani, he's saying, give him the rematch. He should get the rematch. Way. It's like, dude, man, like, and this is what bothers me. This is what gets me to the point where I get super frustrated. This is what drove me. This type of talk is what drove me to kind of be against Conor, man. And I know it's not fully his fault, obviously, but it's this type of talk that's just super frustrating. It's like, the dude legitimately lost. And even the comments after, like, I'm not saying you did it either. I mean, he didn't look terrible in this fight, but listen, man, it's a 5-round fight. The first round, he won the first round. Did he dominate the first round? No. He did not dominate.
He clearly won.
Yeah, he won. He won the first round. Like, there's no question he won the first round.
But it wasn't like a 10-8 or like a Max Holloway Cater.
No, and he didn't. What I'm saying is he didn't. It wasn't like, dude, he just fucking dominated Poirier in the first, and then the second up the leg kicks, and that's kind of been the talk I've heard from a lot of media members, and just people in general, MMA fans, is like, this dude was like on his way to winning for sure, and then if he just would have stopped the leg kicks, he was good.
It's like, that one.
But it wasn't that one, dude. He chopped his fucking leg up, dude. He was brutalizing his leg that whole round. He even hit him in the first with a couple leg kicks as well. Listen, this is what I'm saying. It's mixed martial arts, man. You're gonna get everything thrown at you, and if you can survive it, you survive it multiple times, you end up champion. If you can't, then you're whatever your record says you are, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I have to bring this up, because that was like one of the fucking most frustrating things about the aftermath. Was like, I felt like he's like this sacred goat, sacred cow, whatever, where like you can't say, there's always an excuse, Khabib, my foot, I fucked my foot up, and I was only training takedowns. If I didn't train takedowns, I would have just trained stand up. I would have beat you. It's like, there's always this excuse when it comes to Conor McGregor from the fans and the media, and that's what enrages me. Because it's like, man, dude, let him just listen. I know he's at a point where his stardom is just, it's so big. I understand what comes with that. But the guy fights, right? Like with Floyd Mayweather, whatever ever happened with Floyd, it was always like, hey, he's a great fighter and he performed in the ring. Like, listen, Conor's not like fully performing in the ring, at least to the point of where he's getting wins. So just admit it. Don't make excuses for him and say, if it would, the excuses after this was him saying, I didn't train for those leg kicks, or I didn't really know what to do with those leg kicks. Well, dude, that's your fault. That's not an excuse. I know he's being honest, so I have to be careful, because I do like the honesty of just being real about, like, listen, I wasn't ready for these fucking leg kicks. And it's not an indictment on my team or anything. I just wasn't ready for it. That was good on Poirier's
end. I think this is the first time that he doesn't have that, like, legit, like, Poirier, or the Nate Diaz. I agree with you. I think you're spot on with, like, he has that army almost where, like, he lost to Diaz, but it was 170 and it was 2 days notice or whatever. And then he lost to Khabib, but he broke his foot. And then, anytime he had lost, and then obviously he wasn't fully training. But this time, against your point, it was like this is or kind of what you're leading to right now. This was more of just him saying, "Listen, you beat," and like you said, Kavanaugh already said that was the best McGregor. He's not like taking anything away from Poirier in a sense. Like, he's just saying, "Listen, if anything, this is positive. Good job on those leg kicks. I wasn't expecting them."
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, and it's not him. I'm not blaming him. It's more just the fans and the media.
It's how the media takes it. Yeah, they change the narrative.
Yeah, they're just trying to make him, oh, if only this happened, or man, it's unfortunate because if he would have just trained those leg kicks and this and that, it's like, man, dude, listen, he went in there. It wasn't his night. He lost legitimately. Like, there's no controversy behind it. He got his leg fucking chopped up. That was an amazing performance. Like the Sean O'Malley when he lost to Chito Vera, that was like, hey, O'Malley didn't look bad.
You know what's funny is that I was going to compare it to that. When I thought of this before going to that, I was like, how can you say Sean O'Malley is still legit, but not McGregor? But you've already retracted it.
So. Yeah. And the Sean O'Malley thing was like literally, it was one kick, some happened to his leg, it fell down. Like Poirier was just, and listen, I'm not making an excuse. Like that's a legit move. He's done. He lost that fight fair and square. Yeah. I'm just saying, like with the Poirier. McGregor, like, dude, he was chopping his fucking leg up. He hit him at least like 8 fucking times in his leg, and he was still connecting on the feet. And I like the grappling aspect of it too. I felt like if it kept going on, he was going to grapple a little bit. I'm not saying he was going to take him down every time, but just make him think like, hey, I can take you down. I'm going to grapple with you, that type of shit. So all I'm saying is like, listen, the dude lost under 2 rounds. Like, McGregor's this mystique and all this other shit. Like, dude, this guy, he lost. He got knocked out under 2 rounds. It is what it is. Like, stop making not you, just the media and the fans, stop making excuses. Now he just has to get back in the gym and get back after it. And then again, in the last point, then we can end this thing after I, give you the floor, is with like the Ariel Helwani shit. And we all know Ariel Helwani is a fucking shill and all this other shit. But when he says like, oh, you got to go the trilogy and go for and make it a title fight. Dude, this fucking guy just lost a non-title fight to one of the top contenders. Like, how does he jump Oliveira? How does he jump Michael Chandler? How does he jump fucking Justin Gaethje to then all of a sudden fight for the title again because, it's a trilogy, it's going to sell? Like, man, miss me with that noise, dude. Go down and fight Nate Diaz or fight one of the other guys. All he has to do is go fight Gaethje, fight Oliveira, or fight Chandler, and if he beats one of them, then he can fight for the title. That I'm cool with
he's
that.
Not going to fight them.
Then I'm fine with it. But yeah, man, this talk of like a trilogy, and again, this goes to the Conor McGregor hype, quote unquote. It's like, it's Conor McGregor, give him the rematch right away. It's like, enough of this shit. The Khabib, he gets dominated against Khabib, dominated. And it's like, it should be a rematch. What do you guys think about a rematch? Like, I'm good, dude. This guy just lost. Let him go back to the drawing board and work his way back up. He doesn't have to go down and fight 3 more fights. I'm literally just saying, give him 1 more fight. He could fight one dude. He could fight Gaethje and beat him. Boom, give him the title shot next. Am I fully happy with that? No, I would like to maybe have him fight 2, but his stardom and everything else that goes into mixed martial arts in the UFC, I can understand him being Gaethje and just fighting for the title. And honestly, part of me does feel like just being Gaethje gets you a title shot. But I mean, this talk of a fucking rematch, dude, enough, man. Let Poirier have his moment in the sun, and let the guys that have already been fighting multiple times in the past year and a half and who have fucking, like, Oliveira's won 8 in a row, dude. He deserves a title shot. That's it. I mean, there's nothing else to say. He deserves a title shot. And if you don't want to give it to him, give it to Gaethje, because Gaethje just fought for the title, and this is the precedence. It's already been set. Whether it's John Jones and who was the other one? GSP or whoever the fuck it was. No, it's all John Jones. John Jones with DC. DC loses to him. He has to relinquish his title. It goes to DC. Or it went to DC versus Alex Gustafsson. The winner of that gets the title.
Yeah, or even with Dom Reyes.
Dom Reyes. Yep, exactly. Dom Reyes relinquishes the title. Or no, Dom Reyes loses to whatchamacallit, and they fight for the title next. Dom Reyes is in the title fight. So that's it. Mm-hmm. That was the last thing I just wanted to throw out there. Just some shade towards the media and some of the fans that are making excuses for this dude. And this is what coddles him and kind of gets him into this mode of like, I beat Cerrone, I might deserve it. I know he didn't say it, but like the talk of him beating Cerrone is like, oh, should he get a title fight now or fight Khabib?
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do. So there's a few things I just want to address, and then we're closing this off. Number one, I'll write that off right away. That Ariel Helwani. Listen, what I think it is, what I pretty much can 95% guarantee you it is. It increases Ariel Helwani's presence at ESPN. The more he talks about McGregor, he knows he has that fucking connection with McGregor, and he wants to be best friends with McGregor because McGregor helps him so much professionally.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
That's who. That truly is who has brought Ariel Helwani into being the face in a lot of ways of MMA reporting. Like him having those exclusive interviews, and in a time when he can't talk, like the UFC blocks him out, him having that connection with McGregor is priceless for him. It's invaluable. So yeah, everything he says, I'm sure, and that's why I like DC on the show, because DC will just laugh at him and call the BS on that. He's like, well, I haven't heard their thing, I haven't heard their podcast yet at all, but I can just imagine DC laughs and he's like, what are you talking about, a rematch or whatever it is, or a trilogy? I don't know, but I do think so. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was, in some crazy world, in the craziest world, so Khabib comes back. Let's say Khabib comes back and fights Poirier, then I think it would be Oliveira, Gaethje, and then it would be McGregor, Chandler. And then and then another world where Khabib comes back and says, no, I want Oliveira, and they give it to him, then I think it would be Khabib and Oliveira, and then Gaethje and Poirier, and then or Chandler.
No,
I honestly I think it would probably be Poirier, Chandler, and then Gaethje, McGregor, but I can also see Poirier. Yeah, honestly, I think it would most likely be Gaethje versus McGregor, and then Poirier versus Chandler. But my point is, like, it would just be like, I can see a bunch of different, like, that would be essentially Khabib coming back, ironically, is the only way that Conor fights someone coming off of a win.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I agree with
and then
I agree. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't think.
And then,
because do you think there's any way they give him Chandler right now?
No. Maybe just to. I mean, they definitely might. If I know Dana likes Chandler a lot, and then him knocking out Hooker on a McGregor card gave him a big name. And then if he fought McGregor, if he could beat McGregor, obviously then he would be a big star for the UFC. But I don't know, because the thing is, like, it's almost like, how can you do that? Like, there's an odd number of guys, and McGregor's the only one coming off of a loss to a top guy. Like, you're not going to throw him above Oliveira. That doesn't make any sense.
Did you see the rankings too? I was so happy when I saw them. No. Oh man,
is he like number 6?
Yeah, McGregor's like number 5 or something, 4 or 5. No, I think he's 5.
That makes sense.
I think 5, and I was like, man, thank God.
He is the 5th.
I thought there was gonna be some shenanigans and shit, just like the shenanigans when they put him as a fucking pound for pound top fighter over Khabib at one point in the past like 2 months or whatever it was. Once Khabib retired. Once Khabib retired, they had Conor McGregor as the pound for pound dude on the UFC rankings, legitimately.
Oh man, no, you were looking at. Oh, this is like this is like one of those Ariel Helwani.
Oh, he wasn't.
That was a joke tweet.
Okay.
I went and photo. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, oh, I remember who posted that too. I'm not even gonna get.
No, don't.
I don't like the dude, so yeah.
Okay, for some reason.
But yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, no, he wasn't.
Okay, for some reason, because I saw some other people talking about that were like legitimate.
Yes, they were. They shared.
Yeah, they were like legit. But even they were talking. They made some comments. So all right, well, egg on my face.
Well, no, it's whatever.
But yeah, egg on my face for sure. That's ridiculous on my end. But yeah. So yeah, maybe I don't know. We'll see what they. It's just to wrap up. We're trying to do the matchmaking. To wrap up, I think we both can agree, because of McGregor's stardom and where he's at, monetarily in the UFC, and what he's worth monetarily to the UFC.
Yeah,
it's harder to book his fights, because you can't. We already said this. You can't simply just throw him or put him as a co-main event. He needs a headline, and on top of it, like, you don't want to, even though he's a big star, you don't want to fuck up his stardom. So, like, then you're gonna look for a Nate Diaz, like a Ferguson. I don't see him doing a Ferguson, even though I love that, and that's what it should be, because I think Ferguson's 6 and he's 5. So I think that just works out perfectly. But and even like a Dos Anjos, like, realistically, Dos Anjos should be fighting, like a Conor McGregor right now, given where he's at. I think Dos Anjos is like number 8 or some shit, 7. But they're not going to do that. So that's why it's so fucking tough. And that's why you get in these conversations where I'm saying, oh, if he just beats Gaethje one time, he's going to get a title shot, because, man, it's Conor McGregor. I'm not saying it's because it's right and he deserves it.
But he would launch.
But it's just how the UFC operates and shit. And so.
Yeah, I think in general we mostly agree. It's kind of interesting. I thought it would be a debate. We'd leave
yelling at each other, like, first.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
fucking.
Just Mean Gene would come over.
Fuck.
Drive down with his truck down to the college.
Yeah.
Wrap his gold chain around his hand. Throw a few punches, but luckily we mostly agree. So that's pretty good. But yeah, ultimately I don't think there's. I again, like I said, it's kind of a little bit different than how I expected. I almost feel like I oversold it at the beginning, but hopefully it was a good discussion for everyone. Obviously, this is a bonus episode. Hopefully we can come out with another podcast soon.
Yes.
Kind of still adjusting my new school schedule, but where we kind of do a more full recap of the card itself, besides, like, outside of just the lightweight division, and then upcoming cards as well. But so a lot to look forward to on the channel, and this will be released on Twitter and all of that stuff. So,
hey,
unless you got anything else?
No,
to say?
I'm just happy you're alive, man. I'm happy you made it out alive from UFC.
Me too. I'm happy no one threw a beer at you or whatever when you were probably obnoxiously yelling after you got knocked out. You one time on the podcast, you should definitely tell that Chael Sonnen story at the Silva fight.
Yes.
That's for another day. But either way, thank you, Mean Gene. It's always great talking about this stuff, even if we disagree. But I think we mostly agree on this.
For the most part. Yeah, it was a good conversation. So until next time, peace.